Hi there, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam Marshall, and I am a writer, a reader, and mom. On here, we discuss my writing journey, as well as books that I have read, books that I want to read, and how that all integrates into my daily life. If that sounds interesting to you, please make sure to give a subscribe down below so that you can be notified the moment I upload any of my videos. And if you happen to like today's content, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Thanks! Jumping into today's topic of conversation, I'm going to be discussing my 5-star reading predictions for the year. Now, if you've watched my previous video, my 2021 first quarterly goals, then you'll know I generally do not set goals for the year because I don't want to I tend not to follow through if I set them for the year. But I do have a tentative list of about 50 books that I would like to get to over the course of the year. And so of those 50 books, these are 10 books that I think that I might consider to be a 5-star read. Now, everybody's rating system is of course subjective. So what does 5-star mean to me? 5-star means to me that it has become like a favorite of mine, something that I will constantly recommend, something that I think is fun and enjoyable. Maybe fun's not the right word because I have some nonfiction books that are in that list, and I don't know if you would categorize them as fun so much as informative. And that being the case, it's more, something that I consider to be a favorite, something that I'll go back to. I might reread again. I will recommend on a regular basis. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is the best written book of all time, so much as it just means something to me, some sort of significance. It touched me in some way. I found like enjoyment in it. So that's what 5-star means to me. Hey, Editing Sam here. Just wanted to pop in and let you guys know that I do reserve the right to change my ratings in the future. I might choose to reread a book later on and find that I feel differently about it, or I might sit on it for a little while and then realize that maybe I don't feel quite the same way that I thought I did. Either way, I do reserve the right to change my ratings in the future. So, back to the video. So, getting into the books that I think I will give a 5-star rating to this year. They are in no particular order, but there are 10 of them. The first book in the list is A Blade So Black by L.L. McKinney. It is a young adult fantasy novel, and it is the first book in the Nightmare verse. And I believe the first book was her debut novel. So I purchased it last summer with the intent of reading it last year, and just ended up not getting around to it. So it's on my list for this year. And we follow Alice, and she lives in modern day Atlanta, Georgia. And she now visits Wonderland, which is a dark dream realm where monsters are. And so she has been trained in how to fight these monsters using magical weapons and some really, really awesome combat skills. And she not only, of course, is battling at night, but then has to deal with her everyday struggles as a teenager, essentially. She has to deal with school, she has to deal with her parents and her family, she has to deal with friendships, and then on top of all of that, her mentor is poisoned, and the only way to save this person is to find the antidote in Wonderland. So she has to dive in deeper than she's ever gone before to help her mentor. And so, that's what I know about the book, and I really do think that I'm going to enjoy it a lot. It's not a huge book, and from what I gather, it's you don't want to put it down at all, so I think it'll be a quick read. So moving on to book 2 in the list, A Little Hatred by Joe Abercrombie, and that is the first book in the Age of Madness series. I've already started this one. I'm almost done. I've got less than 4 hours left on the audiobook that I'm listening to, and that's kind of why I can put it in this list, because I'm really seriously enjoying it. This is the first time that I have been exposed to any of Joe Abercrombie's work, and I'm really, really digging his style. It is considered adult grimdark fantasy. It does get brutal in certain spots, and that can be a little jarring, I think, at first if you're not used to listening or reading that. but I'm enjoying the bluntness of his writing. And I'm really, really enjoying his characters, and it definitely is very character driven. If you're somebody who does not like books that are mostly character driven, this might not be for you, because the plot isn't so forthright when you first start the book out. And you can start to see it emerging as the stories of these people you're following start to overlap a bit. You get their exposure and where they come from, because they each come from a different class level, they each have a different background, they each have different abilities, and none of these people are wholly likable or dislikable. They all have flaws, they all have problems that they're trying to solve, and they're all not always nice. I mean, most of the time they're not nice. They're very human. And again, that's why I'm kind of digging this, is because it's showing that there are multiple layers to each person. And while you might like one part of them, you might not like the other part of them at all. And it also, even though it is character driven, the world that he has created, you start to see how your views shift, from where they originally were, based on the things that you're being exposed to and the events that are happening around these people. So yeah, anyway, very just going to use the word intense. Very, very intense world building, it seems like. And yeah, I'm enjoying that. So, third book in my list is All Systems Red, which is the first book in the Murderbot Diaries. And this I have heard a lot about on BookTube. I've heard many people talk about how much they enjoy this book. And oh, of course, I didn't even say the author's name. Martha Wells. Martha Wells, okay? And I've heard a lot of people say how wonderful this book is. I've heard Daniel Green talk about it. I've heard Murphy Napier mention it. Actually, she talked about it, I think, in depth. But it seems like it's really, really going to be a fun ride. It's a sci-fi novella, and it follows Murderbot, who happens to be a self-aware, company-supplied sec unit for this team of scientists that's on a mission. And it apparently is more interested in soap operas than it is people, and just wants to kind of figure out more about itself. However, there's an issue with a nearby mission, where they go dark, and so now the team and Murderbot have to investigate what happened. So that's the gist of what I know about it, and from, again, everything that I've heard, everything that I've read, shows that it's got a lot of good humor, and that it's fun, and, that Murderbot as a character is just fantastic. So definitely looking forward to that, and I really am thinking it is going to be an easy 5-star review in that sense, because it sounds funny. All right, book 4 is another one that I've seen a lot of people talk about, and that is Kings of the Wyld, and that's the banned book 1. And Kings of the Wyld is written by Nicholas Eames. And again, adult fantasy. It's got humor in it. The concept is that you've got these retired mercenaries that have, they've slacked off over the years. Their group had broken up. They've gone their separate ways. They've done their own thing. And then, something happens, and one of them, comes to the others and is like, hey, I've got this thing. And it's either going to be the bravest thing we've ever done, or it's going to be the stupidest thing we've ever done. And so the band gets back together, and it's their adventure. And again, it sounds amazing. It sounds so fun. You got a band of misfits all coming together, found family kind of a thing. Humor, I'm happy with it. So I'm excited to get into that one this year as well. All right, moving on to book 5. We're on to 5 now, halfway down the list. And that's And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. And it's a mystery. It's now considered, I think, a classic at this point. I have not read any of Agatha Christie's works, and I really want to, because so many people love her. And I like mysteries. I really do. I enjoy a good mystery and a good whodunit. So I figured I would start with And Then There Were None. And for those of you who don't know, it follows 10 strangers who end up all lured onto this island. And at dinner, they find out that each one of them harbors a secret. And then slowly, one by one, they start dying off, and you're left trying to figure out, okay, who's doing this, and what is everybody's secret that they're so afraid of getting out there, you know? So yeah, no, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a good ride. On to book 6 in my list. We have Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. And this is a nonfiction book that deals with racism. And it's written by Reni Eddo-Lodge, who is a journalist from Britain. And the topics it discusses are eradicated Black history, political purpose of white dominance, whitewashed feminism, and the link between class and race. So it's discussing a lot of the systemic racism that exists in our world today. I've heard about how necessary this book is today. And I've read other nonfiction books in the past year that, of course, discuss race and racism and systemic racism in the U.S. So I'm interested to see a different, not necessarily a different perspective, but a perspective from another country also dealing with systemic racism. So yeah, and usually I wouldn't say that something like this I would feel like I rate, but also because of the importance of such a book. In my opinion, the importance of such a book merits it being in this list of 5-star predictions, simply because it is important to our time, and the topic is important to me. And learning and growing is important to me. All right, moving on to book 7? I think it's 7 in my list, and that is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, and it came out this past October. It's book 1 in the Between Earth and Sky series. I guess, I think it's a series. I don't think it's a trilogy. It's adult fantasy. It's pre-Columbian inspired, and it deals with celestial prophecies and political intrigue, as well as forbidden magic. And from what I gather from the synopsis, you're following 2 different characters. You're following a magical ship captain named Ziala, and a mysterious young man that happens to be on the ship named Serapio. And they're heading towards, this particular country where there's the winter solstice is going on, and it seems like there's some change on the horizon. So, I mean, that was enough to get me intrigued in it and willing to go ahead and read it. And I have heard some mixed reviews. I've heard where people either really loved it or didn't like the world building. They felt like it was lacking. I'm pretty open. I'm okay with a little bit less world building and a little bit more character-driven things. So if that's the case, then I'm down for it. Which one are we on? Oh, wait. Book number 8 on my list is The Ninth Reign, which is the first book in the Winnowing Flame trilogy. And I heard about this one specifically from Elliot Brooks. It's an adult fantasy. It follows kind of like a band of misfits, found family, adventurers that go off to seek their fortunes, finding ancient artifacts, and battling with monsters, and somehow still manage to get swept up in like this political upheaval and magic and war that starts breaking out because this other group of people or other faction of people called the Jurelia are approaching and coming into the country. So I mean, it sounds fun. It sounds fascinating. Elliot Brooks made it sound amazing. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll give it a read. And again, it's part of a trilogy, so it's going to be fun. And if it is fun, I get to read 2 more books in it, which is great. Moving on to, oh God, are we on book 9? I think it's book 9 now. All right, Sword of Destiny, which is part of it's book, well, depending on how you order your books, It could be book 2 in the Witcher series. Yeah. It's book 2 for me, because I read The Last Wish over the summer last year, and I started to read The Sword of Destiny right after that, and ended up having to sit it down for a little bit. So I want to pick it back up. I want to start reading it again. I loved The Last Wish. I loved that introduction into the world, into the characters, and I'm ready to dive back in. And that's kind of why I already know it's going to be a 5-star for me, because I just really enjoyed the first set of short stories in The Last Wish. So with The Sword of Destiny being the second installment of a short story compilation in the world of The Witcher, I feel like I'm just going to fall right back into it. Editing Sam here again. Just wanted to pop in and apologize because I totally forgot to name the author of The Last Wish and Sword of Destiny, and that is Andrzej Sapkowski. So yeah, sorry about that. Back to the video. Moving on into the 10th and final book in my 5-star reading prediction list. I have hit Witches Steeped in Gold by Ciannon Smart, and that is a YA fantasy novel. It happens to be her debut, and it's going to pop up, I think it's April of this year, and it is Jamaican inspired. The idea is that you have these two witches that are on opposing sides, and one is a prisoner seeking freedom and vengeance. The other is the daughter of a queen who's unwilling to die for her mother's gain, which apparently is the fate that her older sister suffered. And so they create this tentative alliance because they have a unified goal or objective in eliminating a threat to both of them. And that sounds fun. And I keep hearing great things from people that read the arcs, and the cover is gorgeous, and I'm down for it. So yeah, that was the 10th book in my 5-star reading predictions for the year. And at the end of the year, I'll do a wrap-up, and we'll see if my predictions were correct. And if we happen to like that, we'll just keep doing it every year. If you guys have read any of the books that I have in my list, or are interested in reading any of the books that I have in my list, let me know in the comments below, and let me know if you have read them, let me know what you have ranked them, or what you think you will rate them, you know, and yeah, if you liked what you saw here today, please make sure to give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, that way you can be notified the moment I upload a new video. And that's all I got for you guys, so until my next video, see ya!